Hey everybody, Nick Espinoza, your chief security fanatic here, and today we are actually talking about John McAfee, creator of the McAfee antivirus, multimillionaire, and overall crazy person, because he underscores the legitimacy challenges that cryptocurrency actually has in today's market. Now, here's what's going on, and this is coming from Ars Technica and a couple of other sources. But federal prosecutors have indicted John McAfee for securities and wire fraud for misleading investors at the peak of the cryptocurrency boom. In late 2017 and early 2018, McAfee urged hundreds of thousands of Twitter followers to invest in a number of obscure cryptocurrencies. Prosecutors then say he failed to disclose his own financial stake in those cryptocurrencies, and in some cases lied about it publicly. Now, McAfee has been in custody in Spain since his arrest at the Barcelona airport last October. He was already facing extradition to the United States on tax evasion charges, and the self-described libertarian hasn't filed a tax return for several years. Like I said, he's an interesting guy. Now, he's going to face additional charges of security and wire fraud alongside of his bodyguard, Jimmy Watson, who allegedly helped McAfee carry out some of these pump and dump schemes. Now, the criminal complaint covers much of the same ground as the civil lawsuit filed by the SEC at the time of his arrest last October. Prosecutors say that McAfee engaged in two types of illegal schemes. In one, he would buy an obscure cryptocurrency, talk it up on Twitter, and then unload it at a higher price, obviously making a lot of profit. In other cases, he would agree to hype up a new cryptocurrency sale on Twitter in exchange for a cut of the proceeds. Now, buying and promoting cryptocurrencies isn't necessarily illegal on its own. However, the problem is what prosecutors say is that McAfee tried to boost the effectiveness of his endorsements by falsely claiming that he had no financial stake in his recommendations. Meaning, if he had simply said, "I'm investing, so should you," then he probably would have been okay on that charge. The government says that made his actions a violation of federal fraud standards. So, for example, prosecutors say that around December 20th of 2017, McAfee bought more than $100,000 of a cryptocurrency called Electronium, or ETN, very obscure cryptocurrency at the time. The next day, he tweeted that he had gotten, quote, more than one DM telling him that Electronium was, quote, the holy grail of cryptocurrency. When somebody asked if McAfee was invested in ETN himself, McAfee denied it. He tweeted, and I quote, "I own no ETC. I am not pumping for my gain. I am showing you the incredible value of supporting a coin that will change the world." Now, prosecutors say that McAfee was actually pumping for his gain. The price of ETN jumped about 40% in the hours after McAfee tweeted about it. He then liquidated his shares, obviously getting quite a nice profit. And since then, ETN's value has dropped by almost 90%. In another case, also in December of 2017, the creator of a new cryptocurrency called Tether promised to pay McAfee 30% of the proceeds from their ICO. That's the initial coin offering. Now, McAfee was also supposed to get a, quote, substantial percentage of newly created Tether tokens. In exchange, McAfee agreed to tweet that the coin was, quote, the first token to open the door to a new paradigm of social marketing, among other things as well. Now, on Twitter, someone asked him if he got paid to promote tokens like Tether, and he responded, and I quote, "I do not. I merely sift through the mass of tokens to find the gems and share them." He did claim, though, that he, quote, had been advertising them on cybersecurity. Now, the next day, McAfee wrote privately to Tether's founder, and I quote, "For the next few weeks, take my name off your site. I want to be able to leverage my Twitter with people, assuming I have no relationship with you. Removing my name will now add at least $1 million to your sale." The next month, as he was touting the initial coin offering for a token called Podun, McAfee became indignant at accusations that he was being paid to promote cryptocurrencies, and so he tweeted out basically that, "No, I don't ask you what you make it work. Don't ask me. I'm not doing that." And here we are. Now, in total, federal prosecutors say that McAfee made more than $13 million US through misleading cryptocurrency promotional schemes. Now, While this is a major case with high visibility, there are many types of schemes out there in the unregulated cryptocurrency trade. So, for example, pump and dump schemes are very common, and most of them, quite frankly, are simply not caught. McAfee being who he is, the man actually ran for president, under the Libertarian ticket at one point, although he did not get the nomination. I believe it was Gary Johnson that did. I think it was 2016. He's a pretty high-profile individual, not to mention just wanted for murder in like Costa Rica or somewhere. He's kind of nuts, but think about this, and I just did a little bit of homework here before I'm sitting here talking to you. I Googled cryptocurrency pump and dump groups, and of the 1.6 million hits, and oftentimes a lot of them are talking about these groups, the very first result I got was for a website that said, want to find crypto pump and dump Telegram groups, automate your trading and make passive income with blank bot. And I'm not going to give you the name of that. You can obviously Google that yourself. But the point is that the very first hit is literally offering me a way to join groups to pump and dump, not to mention people asking on various sites, where are these groups? How do I join them? And all of this. Now, a recent Bloomberg article from February 2nd of 2021 called, quote, crypto pump and dump aims small amid speculative trading frenzy. Now, it's talking about this as well. Basically, coming off the heels of that entire GameStop situation, many moved to try and pump and dump smaller cryptocurrencies. And that is where the problem lies with the efficacy of cryptocurrencies as we are moving forward. What makes a regular currency like the US dollar or the euro, or take your pick of any global currency, what makes them stable is actually the regulation and backing that it has by the government that actually issues it. There are sets of rules and laws around hard currency that make it basically hard and rather costly to attempt to manipulate it above and beyond just a standard fraud charge, which is what McAfee's under. There are actual regulations that you can break for more fines, more jail time, and all of that, and cryptocurrencies simply don't have that. Now, if cryptocurrencies are planning on going mainstream for the general consumer, there have to be at least a few of those cryptocurrencies that are regulated in this manner. I know the Chinese government is looking at cryptocurrency. The current head of the FTC is also looking at creating a cryptocurrency for the United States. Those would be regulated. But please do not misunderstand me here. I think there is a place for unregulated cryptocurrency. And if we look at it as currencies have problems, especially during the pandemic, we saw the rise of cryptocurrency investing, unregulated as that is. Bitcoin has been exploding in price. Some people say that's going to be a bubble. It's going to come crashing down. Those that got in early are obviously making a ton of money here, but it's Wild West. Understand that you are susceptible if you are going to be using unregulated cryptocurrencies for pump and dump schemes. Theft of currencies are not backed by something like the United States' FDIC insurance that will protect the theft of your currency if basically your money gets stolen from a bank in the United States. So if my bank gets hacked or robbed at gunpoint and somebody steals my $100,000, the FDIC is going to replace my $100,000. That's essentially how that works. There is nothing like that with cryptocurrency, and people have lost their cold wallets, or people have literally had their coins stolen, and there is no recourse for them whatsoever. Now, usually, the only time that law enforcement actually gets involved with situations like John McAfee is when people complain. In other words, I lost my shirt on Electroneum. McAfee said he had nothing invested in it, and he made out like a bandit. That's clearly fraud. No one wants to be on the wrong side of a pump and dump scheme, which is why there is basically trust in things like stock exchanges. Like Wall Street, for example, we know that if that happens, when the perpetrators are caught, they will be prosecuted very hard, and we can possibly recoup some of our money by virtue of that prosecution. And so we're going to see how this affects cryptocurrency in general, but I predict that if people are actually watching the news and interested in this, and they see, well, if a guy like McAfee, who has a lot of pull and sway in the tech community, is as interesting, quote unquote, as he is, what am I going to do when I invest in something and somebody decides to inflate it and then crash it? Or maybe I think I've got something and it's in the middle of pumping before it's being dumped. These are things that I think are going to be very important to consumers, because the last thing you want to do is lose your shirt when you think you're onto a sure thing. And we saw that when cryptocurrency, or rather Bitcoin, hit about $20,000 or so a couple of years ago in 2017, I think, and then dropped like a rock. People were mortgaging their houses thinking that thing would go completely up. Those obviously that stuck with it are now sitting pretty, but that's my point. we're going to see where this goes. I think this is basically a need to have some cryptocurrency, not all. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to get hate mail from all you cryptocurrency lovers out there, because I think there's room for both. But if we're going to basically have this mainstream, there's going to have to be some kind of regulation. And then you're going to get everybody, including grandma, on board with cryptocurrency. And I think that's good for the future of that technology. And please like, share, follow me here on Facebook and Twitter at NickAESP. And please feel free to subscribe to me at YouTube as well. And as always, stay safe and stay online. Thanks, guys.